Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights. I'm one of your hosts, Justin W. Wilson, Esquire, licensed in the state of Kansas and Nevada.
I'm your other co-host, not main host, Shane Cox. I can't hear myself.
I said one of your hosts.
I'm not. My audio's not on.
Hey, the mic is on. Get this mic on.
Can you hear yourself? I can't hear myself. Anymore.
No, but it's in the Eminem thing, right? From one of his songs, Marshall Mathers. Is the mic on? Remember? From the CD?
Now, yeah.
Uh-oh. Austin, do your job. That's 4 hits we're going to have. And when this is over, we get to hit you 4 times now.
Austin likes us right now.
He might.
We fought for him.
We fought for his Tangled Rights.
So we are on episode 28
God damn it.
of... We're going to be doing this forever, folks, so don't get tired of us.
As long as people keep hiring us, we'll keep fucking entertaining you.
We're going to have a sponsor soon, too, who's going to pay for part of this podcast
What's
production.
up?
So
all right.
Our first topic that we want to talk about.
The not legal advice thing.
No, whew. Austin's
He's
messed me
screwing
up.
us up.
Go ahead. You do it.
None of this is construed to be legal advice. It does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you have any questions, reach out to local counsel, or if you are in either of the states that I'm licensed in, hit me up. I got you.
Okay, mine is C. Okay, the very first thing we want to talk about is a cool, kind of cool Vegas rule. I've been dealing with an attorney yesterday, who, we won't name him because he might have
there might be criminal liability for us.
He might have assaulted somebody before. But there's some bad attorneys. There's some bad attorneys. Austin, can you confirm there's bad attorneys? There's some bad attorneys that break ethical rules.
Yep.
And break laws.
I know that's right. Mm-hmm.
Break criminal laws. So in town 5-6 years ago, there was an attorney, female criminal attorney, who changed a lot of things because she broke rules. They say sometimes you make rules because there's people that inspire rules to be made that you didn't think had to be rules.
Well, I think it might have already been a rule. It's just probably one of those that wasn't enforced because no one was stupid enough to violate it. And that's not what they were getting at. Like with the whole idea that you don't give a communication device to an inmate, that didn't mean like, oh, hey, the attorney who's working with them, don't give them your cell phone. It meant like for COs or for cooks or something, not to give them access so that, mafia people couldn't direct the goings on of their criminal organization outside of the jail. But
so we'll rewind a little bit here. We go to jail quite a bit. Justin more than me.
All the time.
Justin goes to jail a few times a week.
Usually.
The jail's right by the courthouse, which is near our office here in downtown Las Vegas, kind of the old part of Las Vegas. And it is actually in the city of Las Vegas. So we're in this jail all the time. My mom works there, so,
What does she do there?
She's a therapist.
She therapizes?
She therapizes and talks to people.
She shrink their heads?
Is that where the word shrink comes from?
Yes, because it's like from Beetlejuice.
Okay, we can't say that word because it could appear.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, shoot.
The new one, kind of disappointing, honestly. Where's Michael Keaton when I need him? That dude is talented.
So there's a special visitor center of the jail. We can make what are called contact visits.
What does contact mean, Shane?
Which is where you can actually see the person, touch them.
Better not touch them, though.
So we go into a private room. They cannot hear us, but they can see us, and that's for safety purposes. And they can't hear us, but they can see us for, I guess, our safety, because we have some clients that could potentially...
confidentiality.
And for confidentiality is why they can't hear us.
Also, no offense to CCDC. They're doing the best that they can, but with the number of times that it has taken numerous minutes after I push the button, which means either I'm ready to leave or I have an emergency. If something went down, one or the other of the people in those rooms would be dead.
And you don't have a knife or a gun at the time either with you. You can't have any kind of...
Just got these lethal weapons right here.
Okay, yeah.
No, actually the one time that I did have an inmate, you know who it was.
Yes.
That I was... I don't know, man. It was just a bad day or something, but he pushed the wrong buttons and I about lost it on him. So we started screaming at each other within 45 seconds of me getting in that room. And the guard was like, she knew something was up, so she stayed. And she's like, "You ready to leave?" Opens the door immediately. As I stand up, I've got knife hands. I'm like, "I'm the last person who's trying to fucking help you." I was pissed. I was ready to fight him because he was being crazy person.
And sometimes it's the kind of people we see as clients who...
Which was not, I want to be very clear. I'm not proud of that moment, but I'm honest about it because it was it was a failure on my part.
He pushed buttons and tried to take advantage.
So good at pushing buttons.
And yeah, anyway.
Like this, took advantage of like
other people, friends, family, all of his friends and family, you know,
your
of abandoned.
kindness. Like if you give him an inch like of understanding, because he was basically what his deal was is he was trying to argue that the statute wasn't enacted when it was. And so what I did is I printed out the legislative history, and I was going to explain how it worked on the bottom of the NRS, which is it's in the Nevada Revised Statutes, is a section of the website, and it tells you when it's been amended. It's like 2017, 2004, 1984, whatever. And you can literally click. It's a hyperlink. You click it, and it takes you to when it was amended, and it shows you the text that was put in, changed everything. And okay, that's great. I'm glad that you feel that way. Let's go through this. No, don't want to see it. And I was like, well, can I turn it around on my computer? Nope, there's nanobots in that. It'll get in my brain. Great, well, I've got the paper. Nope, not seeing that. You're a fucking liar. And I'm like, that's when I lost my shit. Because I was trying to be patient, and I thought, hey, the nanobots, I remember they're in the computers or whatever. He doesn't want to see that. He just wants the paper. What happens? Then he says something else, and I just want to slap the shit out of him.
So anyway,
sorry, I went off on a tangent.
So anyway, we get to go to jail. Sometimes we have video phone calls with clients too.
You can't take your bags up there, but they did let me one time.
Just depends on the day. Mm-hmm. So an former attorney by the name of Alexis Plunkett kind of changed all these rules because for whatever reason, she fell in love with a client, had some kind of relationship with a client. I think that was more than just friendly. We need special relationships with our client to build trust.
You have to have trust.
We really believe them and become friends with quite a few of them, even in bad situations.
Yeah.
And we've felt emotional about what happens to clients. That happens all the time. Okay. So sometimes people can confuse those feelings and allow them to become more.
Wow.
And there are specific ethical rules.
You and Shane?
Specific.
What?
Sheesh.
You guys.
Specific ethical rules.
Oh, you're not technically our client anymore. So you guys.
No, he still is. He still is.
Oh, so you're violating that ethical duty. Great. Now we are going to get our tickets.
Well, here's the rule that he's saying. You cannot have any kind of romantic sexual relationship with a client unless it started before they became your client.
And
that's a generic rule across most states. That's in Nevada.
Or it begins after.
Or it can begin after.
Huh? No. Before, since we hooked in, it's fine.
You guys are
You can continue, because we do jiu-jitsu.
You can continue. You guys were on the mats together.
We've rubbed against each other more than once.
All right. You guys are weird.
Friction.
So Alexis Plunkett became romantically involved with a client.
I don't remember if she was romantic before or not, though.
Yeah, I guess maybe they were. I'm
looking it up. Well, because that changes that part, and I don't recall that being an issue.
So despite her signing, you have to sign something when you sign up saying, I understand I am not sneaking these things in. Yes. And there's potential felony, repercussions. So she sneaks in cell phones to boyfriend. He receives those cell phones. It's found out, and she gets charged with the felony for this. Eventually loses her license over it. Her boyfriend at the time kind of turns on her and testifies against her. Says that this was all her, not him. So she gets wrapped up in this, loses her license in the state of Nevada, no longer allowed to practice law. Pretty serious stuff. And now they take this a lot more seriously in jail. So if you're ever in jail, if you're current listener seeing this in the future and get arrested for something you actually didn't do or whatever it is, and we come see you, we can't have our cell phone. We can have our computer and show you stuff on the computer because sometimes we want to go over discovery with you. There's videos, body-worn camera footage that we might want to show you. We can give you papers. Some states, some jails don't allow you to take papers from your attorney. But here in CCDC, you're allowed to have all the documents. We can give them to you in court when we see you in court, and you can take them back to jail with you, or we can have it mailed to you. We can have it dropped up to you.
Was her attorney?
We'll have him on the podcast.
I did not
sometime.
know that. I just looked this up.
Adam's the homie since
He's a good
law
dude.
school. So Hey, everybody needs. We don't care who you are. Well, we would have defended Alexis Plunkett if she approached us.
Absolutely. Well, everybody deserves it. Well, everybody deserves a defense.
Everybody deserves.
Not all of them are going to get it from me, though.
That's true.
There are certain cases I won't take. This one I would.
You would have, yeah.
But this is saying that she let more than one person use the phone, and she said that it was an honest mistake. She was using it to help them arrange bail.
And that was part of the question, was her signing that before that came up in her criminal case. She ended up taking a pretty light plea deal, didn't do any time, was on probation for a while or parole. I'm not sure which, but she got a pretty easy deal. But when you have something like that, you're going to not have your bar license. And that's exactly what happened to her.
This sucks.
So those rules are in place now partially because of that.
This is the part that I don't understand. She says, I've had threats to my life as a result of this. Who cares?
So I don't know about that.
So weird.
I don't know about that, but
what else did she say? There's another thing in here. Oh yeah. She says, regarding the cell phone, and this is a direct quote on news3lv.com. Regarding the cell phone, am I sorry that I used the cell phone? Of course. I did not know it was illegal. I'm sorrier that I was so viciously targeted by the state.
Yeah,
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
That's not really an apology.
Well, now
right?
you know. Get out of here.
That's not really an apology, but
No.
That's okay.
That's fine. You don't have to be sad.
She's not licensed. Her website's still up and says, yeah, she's not licensed here anymore.
No more license.
So I wanted to talk about something else with jail. Okay. And this is a lady by the name of Lori Vallow. Do you know Lori Vallow?
Nope.
Also known as Lori Vallow Daybell.
No, now I know who it is.
Now you know with the word Daybell? Okay.
No, Daybell is kind of a weird name, though.
Oh,
is it a bell you ring in the day?
Sure.
Why am I tired?
Let me introduce my hat of the week. This is the Pocatello, Idaho Posse. It is, for the audio listeners, a teal hat and a baseball wearing a cowboy hat. Why would a baseball wear a cowboy hat? Who knows? This is from 1993. Teal was a very popular color in the 90s.
It's not a bad color
for sports
now,
teams.
really. I mean, it's a fun color.
But this is we call it Eastern Idaho, near where Lori Daybell was accused.
Why do you call it Eastern Idaho?
Because that's what the area is called.
So everybody calls it that. Okay, I thought you meant it's a local thing. I was like, what do you mean? It's either East or it's West. What are you talking about?
Not me.
The Posse.
The Posse.
That is kind of a cool name. Is that their actual name, Posse?
It was 1 year. The team was there 1 year, 1993. That's it.
Oh.
And then
how'd you get that hat?
Then because they still make old hats. They make throwback hats for collectors like myself. So they moved and became the Ogden Raptors in Ogden, Utah, not too far, which was my hat last week. So, whoa, it's going full circle, baby. So this is, I'm so stupid because I talk about these fun hats and then I tie it into child murder.
Love that.
Because, yeah. So a lot of people in Vegas know about Lori Vallow Daybell because she was in between Utah, Idaho, and Arizona. Didn't cross over into Vegas.
Lucky for her.
But
they don't tolerate that here.
Her husband, her fourth or fifth husband, was kind of an offshoot member of the LDS Church, Mormon Church, and he kind of started his own little cult faction.
LDS or FLDS?
LDS.
Okay.
Yeah. The Salt Lake City.
I thought that's where you might be going with
yes.
stuff.
Yeah. And he wrote books and kind of, I don't know, started believing in some weird visions and stuff. And
let me guess. He's a prophet.
That was kind of it.
He has to bang everybody's wife.
Kind of it, yes.
What's the deal with that?
A little bit.
Why is that the thing?
So they together killed some of their children that were getting in the way of relationships and buried them outside of their farm in Idaho.
They killed their own kids?
They killed their own kids, yes.
What's that called? Infanticide or no? Infanticide is killing a child, but like
familicide, something like that.
Yeah. Patricide is killing your dad. Matricide is killing your mom. There's a word for killing your.
I don't know.
Whatever. It's gross. Word. Just don't kill your kids.
This was in years past. Okay.
How old was this?
This is now. It's been like 2020, 2019 time frame. Oh. So I told you a little bit earlier. She's on her fourth or fifth husband because guess what? Both of their prior spouses had died in mysterious circumstances.
Okay, they killed him. Got it.
So she's now extradited to Phoenix area, and she's going to be standing trial for murder of an ex-husband down there. So
wait.
she wanted to kill to get rid of to pursue new relationships.
More than one of her?
More than one, yeah. She's
More than
now,
one of her ex-husbands died under mysterious circumstances?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I know some people follow this more than me. I bring this up because we have one simple question that comes up here is as she's standing trial, she refuses transport. That's something that we talk about. And sometimes we have family members there of people who refuse transport. So Justin is just, I look this stuff up and not good enough. And then I ask Justin these softball questions. Tell me about refusing transport, what that means.
I mean, it's pretty simple. Whenever they bring you to court, you don't get to just meander over there from the jail. You get taken by a corrections officer. At CCDC, they set it up in such a way to where the jail, CCDC, Clark County Detention Center, is right catty corner to the Regional Justice Center, where you have to go for a lot of that stuff. And there's a tunnel underneath. So they theoretically could just say, hey, go guys, but they need people monitoring them at all times. So they bring them over, bring them up the elevator, take them to their respective courtroom. Refusing transport is whenever you're in your cell and you say, no, I'm not going.
And why can't they just force them?
They can.
Okay.
And they do. There's a couple ways that this goes. Basically, you get a gimme where you're not there. On that one, they might make you go or like try to encourage you to go, but usually they're just going to leave them. They're saying, no, he refused. At that point, the judge is going to say, all right, well, get him here next time. Some judges are more like, okay, right then, by any means necessary is the order.
That's the words I've heard before too. By any means necessary.
And that literally means exactly what it sounds like. If they have to bag and gag you and put you in a chair and wheel you over, they will.
Yeah.
Like when I say bag and gag, I'm talking about the spit hood,
spit mask,
and like literally a thing that like covers your mouth so you can't be screaming the whole time. It's not actually like a gag to hurt them. They're not trying to. I mean, I guess there's no way to do that to somebody without being like a little bit forceful and mean, but like they're not trying to harm these people. They're just trying to prevent them from being disruptive or doing anything gross. But I mean, they literally drag them out of their cells.
Yeah. And sometimes some people are so bad that they have to have these extra security measures and a special hearing for only this specific person. Usually here in Las Vegas, they'll bind you to one other person so that you can't just run. Your shackled hands, shackled feet.
You couldn't run anyway because your feet, you can barely shuffle.
But they put you on another person just as another security measure, with a random, not a co-defendant, but with another random of the same gender so that you cannot run and get away. So she refused transport one time this week, showed up the next time this week. But that was just a little thing that I saw that just prompted a little question, something we can talk about here, guys. Yeah. Answer some questions for you.
They still have the ability to, decide whether they want to be there or not. And sometimes I tell my guys to refuse transport, but it's only for specific purposes. It's like, because look, if they have to come from jail to custody for a hearing in the morning, they have to get up at like 6.
Yeah.
They have all this extra crap to do. And if, let's say it's a status check on dismissal, I'll talk to the judge and I'll say, hey, can his presence be waived? And sometimes they're like, no, but what they really mean is just tell him. And so then I'm like, okay, just don't show up tomorrow. Don't worry about the next one. Because he's not here. Oh,
and
well,
some
dismissed.
of them, you have authorization from your client on what to do anyway.
Correct.
So if he says at an arraignment, plead not guilty for me, set it for trial,
Which is what we do for all of our out of custody anyway.
Which is normal. That's a normal thing.
Unless the judge has specifically ordered them to be there for an initial arraignment, I never have them show up. Because the judge can always do something goofy, depending upon the court especially. Certain ones are worse than others where they'll be like with...
Take a P test right now. See if you're on drugs.
Huh. You got a DUI, huh? Did you drink this weekend? Sure didn't. All right, we'll find out. Go pee in this cup. And you better hope you are telling the truth because the cup don't lie.
So another question that's prompted from this Lori Vallow Daybell case. Why are they prosecuting her for another murder charge if she's in for life without parole? Why do you think?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're all standalone things.
Okay.
And justice still needs to prevail.
Okay. Is that justice?
Is it a waste of resources? Potentially.
It costs money. It's not like it's a $0 game,
I mean,
it takes a lot of people are government involved.
They're getting paid anyway.
But it does take the time away from the court to allow them to do other things.
The jurors.
Prosecutors to do other things.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Let's circle this a different way.
Okay.
Your cousin, who you like, I don't know if you have one of those.
I do.
Your cousin who you like gets murdered by somebody.
Okay.
Fast forward, turns out his wife killed a bunch of other people, ex-wife, whatever. Then you find out she probably killed him. Do you want her to go to trial even if she's already serving life?
Yes.
There
I
you
asked
go.
this question
That's why.
kind of tongue in cheek because
But I mean,
yes,
that's
I
pretty much why
100%
I would
agree.
imagine.
I 100% agree. She's already in prison, for life. Nothing's going to change there. I don't know. I guess something could potentially, right? If something weird in an appeal goes funky or whatever, there's not a time where her appeal goes wrong. She's let free there and disappears. If she gets released, if she's released there and she'd been convicted here, it's not, hey, you're released. It's, no, okay, this charge is done. We're taking you straight to Arizona. You're not leaving.
Prepare yourself.
So doing this now, I guess, in timing, there's no statute of limitations on murders in any state I've ever heard of. So not like they couldn't bring this later, but they got more evidence, whatever they have to bring this trial. She takes a plea deal. She doesn't. We don't know what's going to happen, but they are seeking that. We'll follow that more a little bit later because her case was real famous because there's a big LDS community in eastern Idaho, right outside of, Salt Lake area. So this was just very much in the news and very loud.
You guys all mad at her?
I think any murderer, I'd be mad at any murderer. And, anybody that commits crimes is not a good person.
You're mad.
And especially
Okay.
a murder of a child.
Wow, that's
Whoa. Let me look at the stance I took.
anybody that commits crimes is not a good person.
Crimes are bad.
Hey, you wouldn't believe this. Speeding, death. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. You committed a crime.
I didn't say that.
Bad person.
I didn't say that.
You did. You said anybody who commits crimes is a bad person.
A
I've committed
felony
crimes.
like this level.
Okay. Murdering your own kids, I can agree. Bad person.
Whatever.
Running a stop sign, maybe
Running
not
a
a bad
stop sign.
person. Maybe just, dumb. Should get off your phone when you drive, Californians.
Yes. All right. I'm going to skip right over because you're a jerk to a new murder because
No, let's finish.
what? That's it.
Oh, well then
You
you're
have
not
anything
skipping
else?
No, I thought you had more questions.
Transition. All right. This one's in the Milwaukee area. This was
Is that in Wisconsin?
Wisconsin?
Rhymes with mansion if your name's T-Pain. Shout
Correct.
out.
Okay.
That fool can actually sing.
Yes.
Did you hear his War Pigs? Oh my God. I thought I liked War Pigs before, like a lot. Generals gathered in their masses. Yeah, I get excited. No.
Da-da.
T-Pain, man.
Sade Robinson.
Rest in peace.
Sade Robinson.
I don't know.
Was co-workers with Maxwell
It's
Anderson.
Sade.
Okay.
Jesus.
It could be. I don't know.
Like Sade the singer, T-Pain. Never mind. Whatever.
Could be. Sade Robinson.
Sweetest Taboo. Also a very good song.
Take 3. Sade Robinson was co-workers with Maxwell Anderson. Maxwell Anderson really wanted to date Sade Robinson. She's the girl that gave him a chance. First date, she gets murdered, dismembered.
She didn't give him
And
the
her
right
body
chance. She didn't give him the right chance, apparently.
So this guy was real creepy. There's some comments about how creepy he was that came out after, obviously. And Sade gave him a chance, and he proved to be an insane person.
The chance she should have given him was to go away.
So she's murdered, body cut up. Are you looking this up? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What?
It says when police searched Anderson's home, they reportedly found blood on the walls and a sex dungeon in the basement.
Yeah.
What?
I was skipping over that part because I'm focusing on a minor part of this that a criminal attorney can answer. He was charged with murder, dismemberment, and car arson, which is a specific
She's
crime apparently.
cute.
Yeah. They were young, in their 20s.
Jeez.
I know. It's very sad. So murder, obviously biggest one. Dismemberment, mutilating bodies is usually a crime in different states.
Yeah.
And then arson, usually a crime in different states. And this is a specific category of car arson.
Dude, this just happened.
Yeah, I know.
How did I?
We
Not
talk
having
about
social media makes it to where I miss
we
all this
talk
crazy
about
stuff.
current events here on Tangled Rights and talk
mean,
about your
sometimes.
rights and how they're tangled. And his defense attorney filed a motion to have separate trials for the arson case versus the murder dismemberment. Okay,
Right? It's a bifurcation
trying to
motion.
Yeah, we talk about the word bifurcate, which means kind of splitting in two, is bi, which means two. But yes, it does mean two. So the defense attorney tried to file a motion for separate trials because there's an argument that the jury could be confused. So there's rules of evidence, okay? Rules of evidence, they're supposed to protect defendants.
I'm so confused.
Even this one who we've adjudicated guilty, in the public eye, who's probably guilty. I'm not saying that he's not. But there's rules to protect him, and he's supposed to have an impartial jury of his peers. That is your constitutional right. And so with that, you can have separate trials on things that would be intended to confuse the jury or have them make conclusions based on other charges. So based on that, he had this motion to have his car arson separate from murder dismemberment because the car arson is kind of evidence of, yes, I'm trying to hide something. So there's a potential that the jury could confuse those. One of the factors that the judge greatly considered is the impact on the family of the victim, which is one of the things in Wisconsin that the judge can consider. So this ended up getting denied. The judge determined that the car arson is so closely tied to the murder that, it doesn't really matter. It's not something that outweighs, any prejudice that he might face with this. So there's always kind of these interesting little motions throughout a case that we can focus in on. But this one was specific and is a strategy. I mean, as a defense attorney, you might even make this decision because it's in the best interest of trying to get this defendant, out of more trouble and trying to have a fair trial or fair trials, multiple.
Well, the idea, I think, is to split it up. With this one, though, I don't know if it's going to matter too much because I'm assuming that everybody except for me knew about this.
It's not as popular. This one wasn't as front of news as some of the others that we've talked about. And I'll talk about the why of that later and what I think on that. But I know you had a motion recently that you filed to try and have a separate trial. And are you okay to talk about that one, or should we save that?
We can talk about it. It's fine. It's topical. So it was a motion to sever defendants because here there's a few criteria. Basically, what I was trying to hinge it on was that our defenses are antagonistic.
So let's talk. There's co-defendants in cases, sometimes in like robbery, burglary. If they're working together to, further a crime, usually they'll become co-defendants. So it's the same case, and there could be multiple defendants within the same case. So everybody's in front of the same judge, but everyone needs a different attorney.
Correct.
And only one could potentially have a public defender too. So sometimes we become involved in those in our track, those that get sent out to outside counsel from the public defender's office, but still aren't paying for their attorney directly.
The state of Nevada pays for them.
The state of Nevada pays for it. Yes.
Shout out.
So, I don't know if we gave that context enough. This is a specific case where there's two defendants, and they're both accused of kind of
conspiracy to commit robbery with a deadly weapon.
Yes.
Conspiracy to commit robbery with use of a deadly weapon. And then I think that's it. I think it's just 2 charges each. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe there's an assault with a deadly weapon.
So you filed the motion to sever, which is kind of similar to this motion. It's to have these people have different trials or kind of bifurcation. It's
correct.
Cutting them, putting them
it's
separate.
It's literally just pulling them apart. The idea is that our defenses are antagonistic because my client's defense is that they didn't know what was going on. This other person was tracking their whereabouts, that something was happening with what she was doing, but that the other guy was trying to find out where she was and that she didn't know what was going to happen. His defense was, and I'm guessing based on the prelim, I didn't do nothing. That surveillance footage that shows me looking up at the camera before I put my really crappy disguise on, that's not me. This is not the dude you're looking for. It's the dumbest thing in the world. But those two defenses don't go together. Because if I'm sitting here trying to say, hey, I didn't know this was going to happen. Like, this dude showed up, put a gun in my homie's face, and took his stuff. I had no idea he was going to do that. He followed me on an app, whatever. Versus the other guy's like, I didn't do it. Those two things don't go together. His defense is so obviously shitty that they're going to say, okay, he's guilty. So is she.
They're right.
Right? And so that's part of it. And I'm not going to go into all the details. There's 5 or 6 different criteria, but the biggest one for me was the antagonistic nature of the defenses, that you can't have one without the other.
And this all stems from your right to a fair and impartial jury.
Yeah.
So these amendments to the Constitution, this Bill of Rights, these first 10 amendments, always come into play.
Yes.
Like in every aspect of criminal law.
They are what we call critical.
Very, very importante.
Oof. You speaking Espanol?
El Español. Yeah.
Oh, man. Dang.
So we see that all the time. That could be an instance in your case. You could have just, been invited for a car ride, and
hey, Shane,
and the driver and passenger, you're sitting in the back seat. They're like, "Hey, by the way, we're going to go rob somebody."
I need to go drive past his house real quick. Will you come
cool,
with me?
yeah, no problem,
Sounds
dude.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know?
And we got those roles right. You'd be the one, yeah. I'd be the one not knowing, right? Because I'd point the finger at you,
and I'd point it right back at you.
All right, cool. Show the text. Send a video.
Send location, brother.
A minor point. The Delphi verdict we talked about came back guilty on all counts. We have one of our staff members. We'll have her on the show, and she'll tell us all about the Delphi case.
Who?
Gladys, she watches this stuff all the time.
Oh, she loves that stuff.
She loves that stuff, yeah. She's loved watching criminal law and getting to know our criminal law stuff because it's just fun.
Everyone loves it.
It's just fun. It's just fun.
It's so much fun.
The Delphi murder that they tried in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I've been singing stuff. I don't know what's wrong with me.
You're on one today.
That's because I drank 2 liters of Pepsi last night.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, should we talk about that real quick? Our little challenge?
Sure.
So,
if we're looking skinnier soon,
it's because we're challenging each other at the perfect time of year when all the holidays and all this great food is around to see who can lose the most weight proportionally. I weighed in this morning at 215.4.
wow, we're doing that.
Eating a large pizza last night and drinking a 2 liter of Pepsi and half of one of those like brownie things that Pizza Hut sells intentionally to gain weight so that when I weighed in this morning, oh yeah, I'm here to win, baby. I'm not here to like be honest about my stuff.
All right. And I weighed more than that.
He was slightly more than me. Anyway, you did complain about it.
So if we look skinny soon, just
Skinnier in proportion. But that's the thing. So it's proportional how much you lose to your current body weight.
Yes, sir.
So either way,
Not that complicated.
look for that. It's going to be good. It's a lot of fun.
So we're members of the Nevada Association of Criminal Justice. Is that what it's called? NACJ?
NACJ, I think so.
Nevada Association of Criminal Justice.
I believe so.
We're both members of that. It's a community of
Members
defense
in good
attorneys. For now.
Today.
We got our Christmas party soon.
Oh, they're going to hate that.
Yeah. So
Neither of us drink, though, so it's going to be fine.
we're members of this community. We share emails back and forth. We share information. We always want to help each other out because we're on the same side. We're trying to help these criminal defendants in the way they can because we stand against the state who seems to have endless resources to prosecute the cases they want to.
For the Constitution.
And we stand for the Constitution and people's rights in that Bill of Rights.
Whether they're tangled or not.
Whether it's clear, we have to hold the state to our burden because, as I saw a comment recently that I just loved, if they can do this to guilty people, they can do this to innocent people too. So if they violate rights of anyone who's guilty to get what they want, they can do that to you as well if you didn't commit a crime. Just think about that. If they want to put you away, they could if they violate the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So that's something I've always believed. I've always been a big Fourth Amendment believer. And so
Fourth Amendment is the one against illegal searches and seizures, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, Fourth Amendment in part is about illegal searches and seizures. There's been, on TikTok, there's been a talk about the Sixth Amendment, quartering...
No.
Which one is that? Oh, no, that's speedy trial.
Yeah, speedy trial.
Eighth Amendment?
Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual punishment.
That's right. Which is the one of quartering?
Probably the seventh, because I don't know what that is offhand.
Okay. So there's been a TikTok trend where people are talking about their boyfriend or son, or it's people whose boyfriends or son or nephew or dad come back and they say, I know my Seventh Amendment right. And they shut the door on them coming home. So it's just a funny TikTok thing I saw. That is kind of what it is, but yeah, sure.
I know what the first is. I know what the second is. Let's go to third. Because it's not the seventh. It's third. No soldier shall be quartered in any house in time of peace without the consent of the owner. In time of war, however, soldiers may be quartered in a manner prescribed by law.
There you go. Third Amendment rights.
Huh?
I thought it was the other way. During war, they can't just come in and take your...
No, that's not what this says. It sounds like in war, they can do what they need to.
Yeah.
But I know my Third Amendment rights now. You're not staying in my house.
Not one that comes up in criminal law
No.
that I've seen. Anyway.
That's why I don't know it. It's because we've never had to deal with that. I like the 10th Amendment.
I understand. Yes. 10th
Let's not get into that right
gives states' rights. Or something
Limits the federal government, supposedly.
Yeah, something like that.
Somebody please help.
So on these emails that we get from this criminal justice group that we're a part of, people usually send out their trial victories. We sent out about our trial victory recently that we talked about before. There was a trial defeat on the part of a defense attorney that got sent out, and you were going to talk about some of the stuff, or do you want me to tell the details? And then this is the one in Washoe County where a defense attorney was presenting a defense for a murder case.
Oh, geez.
And
the judge prevented it. Jesus.
Washoe County is where Reno, Nevada is, the second largest city if you exclude Henderson.
Biggest little city in the world.
Biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada. I know a lot of friends from law school who came down here because Las Vegas is the only law school, and they lived in Reno or were from Reno.
I've never been. I've heard it's nice, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
Summertime, I've heard it's good.
Don't stay at the Vagabond Inn. I stayed there for my buddy's wedding, and it was horrible.
It sounds cool, actually.
Oh, man. My buddy who's a prosecutor up there is like, yeah, we got so many cases at the Vagabond Inn. I don't know why you guys would stay there. So many criminal charges that happened there. Because I stayed with another buddy. I was like, hey, let's split a room. And
Which one you slept on the floor?
it was 2 beds.
Oh.
2 beds.
Oh, you pushed them
And,
together.
and he got the room there.
Nice.
Thanks, Rob. And
Wait, like Rob? Like your buddy from the DA's office?
different Rob. That's why I always say my buddy from the DA's office, Rob. No, this is a different Rob.
Okay, whatever.
Different Rob.
This one time, it doesn't work out in your favor. Give me a break. For context, I know Rob, the one that he usually is talking about. I deal with him professionally more than Shane does, but Shane deals with him personally way more than I do. And he's always explaining to me who he is. And it's fucking annoying because I'm like, dude, I know who you're talking about.
It's a funny joke. He's a listener of ours, too. He's a prosecutor. We're going to try and have him on soon. Rob,
shout out.
clear that out with your bosses
Hurry
so
up.
we can
Hurry up.
have you come on and talk about War Machine, the MMA fighter.
I know who you're talking about. A very emotional guy.
Clarifying it for the listeners. War
Machine.
Machine. War Machine is a nickname, an actual name that he adopted, which is interesting.
I mean, if you're an MMA fighter, it sounds like a good...
Yes. But when you're facing criminal charges
Probably not good.
for beating up somebody,
Don't tattoo murderer on your neck if you're gonna.
maybe you shouldn't be called War
You're
Machine.
not going to go to trial for murder. Let's
So
see.
Reno, Nevada, biggest little city in the world. Also kind of similar to Las Vegas, colder than Las Vegas. Fun little city. Every time I've been there, I've only been there less than 24 hours, 3 different times.
I should go
you
for
believe that?
4 days and then I'll be there longer than you.
Yeah, true. So once to argue in front of our Nevada Supreme Court,
How'd
Carson
that go for
City,
you?
we were a secondary character in that. We kind of won, kind of lost. Didn't really matter. Didn't change anything for my clients.
I'm usually a supporting character myself, so I can see how
So
that's
once
fine.
for my buddy's wedding, up and back real quick one night, came back early morning, left kind of in the afternoon.
Did you fly?
One's for a convention, flew all 3 times, yeah. Southwest flights have flights all day long between Nevada or Las Vegas and Reno. So Southwest, fly safe. I don't know what their slogan is.
Fly reasonably, and their people don't treat you like shit.
Well, the cattle call, though, that they do to get
I don't mind. I don't mind.
That kind of bugs me.
Because you can pay an extra $20 and you get A1 through 30.
It smells like pour. What you say when you line up?
Versus if you're at Spirit, they spit in your face.
Oh,
You're like, oh, you have baggage? That'll be $900.
they just filed bankruptcy, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
My last experience with them was flying back from LA, and this lady, I had to like try and push my bag down a little bit to get it in the thing, and the fact that I touched it, she's like, nope, you have to pay for that. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, it wouldn't slide right in. And she's like, that's $80. And I'm like, my ticket was $40. And she goes, so you're not going to pay it? I'm like, I'd rather, next please. I'm like, lady, I got to get on the plane. And she's like, then you have to pay the money. And that was it.
There's no nonsense there.
Yeah.
Delta is nice to you. And they're going to have Shake Shack on their flights. They just announced.
What?
Yeah.
Like you can pay for it?
Yeah.
I can get a shake?
Paid Shake Shack. Well, can we get back on this and on this email from NACJ? There was a criminal trial for a murder case, and the defense counsel was trying to mount a defense vigorously, as they should when you're facing a murder charge and you're innocent until proven guilty in front of a jury of your peers, and a judge shouldn't get in the way of that. One of the defendant's kind of theories is that her sister had done the murder and it was not her. The judge did not allow that to happen. Okay. Did not even allow for that argument. I think that my opinion, personal opinion, is that that's a very good basis for an appeal. If you don't have a reasonable defense that you can bring, that you might have evidence for, you're allowed to bring those as an alternate theory.
I mean, you can kind of even bring defenses you don't have evidence for.
So, yeah. Well, you have to have the state meet their burden always, right? But if there is a reasonable, like you want to present defenses that are reasonable, otherwise you lose the jury and they don't believe you.
Obviously.
And so the judge is also accused of kind of telling the defense attorney what not to do in front of the jury,
which is a bigger problem.
The reason juries usually they don't realize they're waiting so long outside is because the attorneys and the judge are talking about evidence, how to question witnesses, specific questions that may or may not be allowed to not cause mistrials, because that's a waste of the court's time if they have to come back.
Yeah.
So some things you have to clear in front of the judge before you get to that next step. So sometimes you're arguing over those for half hour, hours, amount of time while the jury's just waiting. So you'll tell the jury to be there at 1:00 and you say, well, we'll start arguing at 12:45. It'll only take 15 minutes. And then it ends up taking 45 minutes and the jury's thinking, what the heck's going on? But this is to not bring back another jury for a 2 or 3 week murder trial, because those are serious, super serious. So this is the case where they'll usually pull aside the jury. They'll have them out, and then the judge can rail into whatever attorney they want to, prosecution or defense, but it should never be in front of a jury.
No.
You should never do this in front of a jury, because then the jury looks and says, whoa, this guy's not following the rules, and he should be. And so there's just that mentality where if it's even close, for a juror to go one way or the other, they might become partial against you. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason that this should not happen. And I just said everything, and sorry, I didn't give you the opportunity, Mr. Trial Attorney Justin here.
You're good. It's just I've never heard of, like, when I first saw this, I was shook.
This is through the eyes of another person,
but I've never heard of anything like this. Like the levels of
what's presented to us as what we're hearing is just
the levels of standards that seem to be breached here are baffling. Like I've never seen a judge. First off, I mean, let's talk about the defense part. Whatever. Reasonable minds can differ. You could say there wasn't enough evidence. You can't just start saying
she might be guilty, but she deserves a fair trial.
Sure, but you can't say aliens came down and did the killing. There's been no UFO expert, whatever, right? So from that perspective, okay, let's say maybe the judge sees things a little differently. Okay, that's fine. But when you get to the part where you're getting admonished in front of the jury, and then I think disparaged too, wasn't there a section in there talking about, and I don't have it memorized, I just remember something about the judge like talking crap on the attorney in front of the jury. Like, oh, this buffoon.
He said in front of the jury that defense counsel was misstating the law. He said that, not an argument by the prosecution, but the judge said
So
the defense counsel is misstating the law.
The judge is standing in the prosecutor's seat, is what it sounds like. And it's just unfortunate circumstance because this is definitely going to get overturned. It's going to come back. It's not good. They always talk about things that aren't good for the profession. I don't think this is good for the profession because it just makes, when you turn it into a clown show, it makes everybody look silly.
Yes.
Right. And that's exactly what's happening here. The judge is like, I don't even know what's going on, but it just doesn't sit right with me. The whole thing was weird and I don't like it.
And the witness, the sister, a very interesting part, the sister that they were trying to point the finger at got up on the witness stand and started testifying. And then as she has the right to do, she invoked the Fifth Amendment, and then that shuts down all questioning after that. So the judge accused the defense attorney of orchestrating this, of having the sister, purposely had a murder, charge pointed towards her, that the sister would do that for her other sister and then invoke the Fifth.
I mean,
and
well, if the jury doesn't believe that you did it and they swing this thing that way, that means you're going to have to potentially be dealing with murder charges. No one would just do that.
No.
You don't take her to prison. Take me. I didn't do it though. That's
I would not do that for a sibling.
No? Your younger brother?
Not for a murder charge.
What about speeding?
I was driving, Your Honor. I was driving.
Oh, under him, it's the same penalty, right?
And then prove it,
Sure. So, the only way I would do that if I had a sibling is if I did it.
That's a complicated, if you had actually done it.
Like if I
and
committed
he was
murder,
facing murder,
and somebody else was facing
and
a murder
there
charge
was
for me,
evidence,
and I thought, I can just say something, say I'm going to invoke my Fifth, and then he'll get off, and they don't have enough evidence for me. Yeah, I'd do that. Yeah. But first, I just wouldn't murder anybody.
The defense attorney was sanctioned during the trial and threatened to be held in contempt as well.
What does that mean?
So being held in contempt, we talked about this with the young thug when that attorney was held in contempt for some bogus stuff. Being held in contempt is kind of a civil criminal thing where a judge has a power if somebody's just being all kinds of disorderly in the courtroom to send them to jail for a certain amount of time, depending on the jurisdiction. So
isn't contempt here up to 180 days?
Is it? Dang.
I think
some of them are like up to
anything under
7 and 14 days. But the judge does have power to do that. Let's say somebody comes in the room and is incredibly unruly and just tries to disrupt the proceedings. It favors a judge who we think of always as the reasonable person, but we find in actuality is not, always the most reasonable person and not always the best person. So the judge should have power to do this, and we should have highly regarded folks as our elected judicial officers.
Okay, here we go.
Not always the case. So how many days can you get in Nevada?
Except as otherwise provided, if a person found guilty of contempt, a fine may be composed, not exceeding $500, or imprisoned, not exceeding 25 days, or both.
25 days. So that's an interesting case. We're gonna track that one as more of these cases come up in our emails from.
Here we go. This is the one I was thinking of.
The subject line: injustice in the building.
A person so imprisoned as a result of his or her failure or refused to testify before a grand jury may be imprisoned in the county jail for a period not to exceed 6 months, or until the grand jury is discharged, whichever is less. So if you're like, I'm not testifying in front of your jury, well, you're gonna do 6 months in county then.
Yeah. And I mean, you can imagine in like the Young Thug trial that there are years and years and years. That would have been insane. But it is what it is. Yeah. Flip him off. That's a good idea.
You can't see it because they're going to cut the thing.
Okay.
So if you just shut your mouth, no one would know.
Our next topic is something that's been in the news a lot. Laken Riley. We talked earlier about a case. This probably another case you haven't heard of.
Nope.
Because you're not listening to these things. We talked about the one in Milwaukee that I don't think was as popular just because the subject matter. This one has been in national news and is, for reasons, it has become a very politically charged case. Laken Riley was a student at the University of Georgia. She got murdered by what most people would call an illegal immigrant, a man from Venezuela who had crossed the Mexico border illegally, was not able to be detained in New York, where he originally was, because of some issues they had. They maybe should have detained him there, but they didn't. He leaves, goes to Georgia, kind of just lays low, gets a job. His brother's there with him as well. Lake and Riley goes out for a run one day, and she's missing for hours, never found. And after a while, they figure out who this murderer is, this man, this Venezuelan man. There is quite a bit of evidence against him. His fingerprint was on her phone. There's DNA evidence under her fingernails. You know, all of this. They get all of this, but it becomes politically charged in the immigration argument. You know,
He said that his defense was the evidence was circumstantial.
well, that was part of it, and that his brother did it. He said that his brother did it. So you have another person blaming a brother. Look at these segues, man, seamless. So there's a whole lot more here than what we're going to talk about immigration and what's proper with that. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the criminal facts. The point of this that I wanted to talk about is the fact that this man waived his right to a jury trial and had a bench trial. Okay, probably didn't change anything, but
Probably made it real fast.
but it does. It speeds it up because you don't have those times with the jury bringing them in, taking them out.
You don't have to worry about jury instructions.
You don't have to worry about the jury instructions. If you don't have to, you know, you can be a little bit less careful with your questions because you can't really cause a mistrial in front of the judge because the judge is supposedly, you know, can ignore certain pieces of evidence.
They can understand.
And they've if you're a criminal judge, you've seen a lot of stuff. You know, this isn't this first judge's murder trial that they've seen. So they've seen nasty, disgusting stuff.
Not their first rodeo.
They're better at ignoring stuff. And not their first rodeo. Maybe they've had a baseball with a cowboy hat before. Yeah, hilarious.
What?
A baseball with a cowboy hat, a posse hat. Right here.
Oh, I like that.
This is mirrored, so I always get this wrong.
It's confusing.
So
Life is hard.
you can just say you don't want a jury. Who gets to decide that, Justin?
The defendant.
Okay. The defendant with the assistance of counsel. And we talked about that under the Fifth Amendment before. The defendant being advised by his counsel saying, hey, I think we have a better shot. You know,
If you're a defendant,
you have no shot in front of the jury. You may have a shot in front of the judge.
Samfed.
Yes, there was a.
I think we might have talked about it.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this. Sometimes that's a strategy you want to
It's a good
take.
strategy because the judge again can separate all these things that the jury gets hung up on. Sometimes,
Yes.
if you've got a case that's a little messy, but good for potentially good for you, it might be
The judge understands your Fifth Amendment right not to self-incriminate better too.
as number one,
which can be something that quickly messes with jury members.
That sucks so bad.
Can
When she said that, I'm not
quickly-
gonna lie, I was feeling great, and then my heart just went.
That can quickly trip up jury members. What? If I was up there, I wouldn't testify. As an
Or-
attorney, if it was me, most times I don't think I'd testify because
No.
I'm. You got to be super
There are
careful.
limited circumstances. Self-defense, you have to. You have to get up
Self-defense, you
there.
have to. Yeah.
I was scared. Here's why. He came at me in the night. He was greased up, wearing cowboy boots and a curly wig, and nothing else.
And singing every breath you take.
Sting still in your brain.
No,
isn't
that's
he?
Diddy. Diddy covered it.
Right, but it was Sting first.
He talked about night and oil and stuff. So
Talk about
that was
time.
Diddy.
All right,
Still Sting and Diddy
So,
both.
what I was going to say, one of the other things you can waive as a defendant, which is also stupid, is your right to counsel.
Don't do that.
Don't.
We'll talk about that in our very next episode, though.
I think there's something right here that says it.
Don't represent yourself. Don't talk to cops. Yeah. And if you represent yourself, you have to talk to the
I love that
prosecutor.
on the screen, it just says don't.
Don't.
Just don't.
Don't.
That's a good one. Just don't.
Just don't.
Yeah, you can do lots of things that aren't good, but sometimes, as you said, it's tactically sound. And that's where your experience and that's where counsel comes into play.
We'll go to our listener question,
Okay.
which I think is topical. This episode will come out the week of Thanksgiving. So
I love food.
nice. Okay. So question that was posed to me was, can a can of corn be a deadly weapon, Justin?
Yes. Put it in my hands and watch what happens.
Gosh.
Hey.
Who gets it? Sometimes we get these questions that are like, here, answer this, complicated question. Yes, in the right hands, a can of corn can be a deadly weapon. And
Well, I mean, I guess it comes down to what the definition of deadly weapon is in your state.
in your jurisdiction.
And then it does the thing that you're talking about, does it meet that definition under the circumstances in which the thing was used? Right? Is a pen a deadly weapon if I sign my name? No, because I'm just signing my name. That's not going to kill anybody. However, if I take that same pen and John Wick you in the face with it, deadly. Can of corn, same thing. If
So
I open the can of corn,
Who gets to decide?
the jury, they
Okay.
get to apply the facts to the law and come to their conclusion, which they get right sometimes.
So whatever, I mean, and it could be a question. You told me this earlier as I prepped you. Size of the can of corn.
Sure. If we're talking like a regular can, definitely could be deadly, right? You
A
could hurt somebody.
full soda can versus an empty soda can versus
Sure.
a sawed in half soda can
Versus one of those industrial size cream corn deals,
or nacho cheese.
which, God, I would love to just open and drink. But cream corn is delicious. But also, if you're smacking someone in the head with something that weighs 40 pounds, whatever.
It is up to the jury to decide.
Yeah.
The facts get presented to them.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't think a reasonable defense attorney would say a sword isn't a deadly weapon or a gun isn't a deadly weapon or something like that. But there are wrinkles in the law all the time.
Right.
And most times we leave those in the hands of the trier of fact.
Correct.
Who could be a jury,
Or it could be a judge.
could be a judge, as we
And that's
see
that's
when you
the
waive
weird
your
thing is
rights.
that, like, sometimes you're going to have, things you want to just abandon as far as your defense goes, but you're conceding an element. Because murder with use of a deadly weapon is not the same as just murder,
Yeah.
right? The punishment's always higher, and you have to
But you can attack that in a different way because
Right.
the state has to meet all 5 elements.
Every element.
If you get them, not to find you guilty on one, middle finger there, or a fourth, whatever one.
I don't know what you're
Whatever
doing, but
one.
it made me feel some kind of way.
Uncomfortable.
I was nervous.
Okay. Well,
I'm a young man. I don't know what you're doing with that. All right, guys.
thank you for the listener question.
Please don't hit each other with cream
We'll
corn
see you
cans.
soon. Be kind to your family over Thanksgiving.
Enjoy the Dallas Cowboys getting their ass kicked on Thanksgiving. 3-7 is what we are right now. Jesus Christ.
Raiders Black Friday game. Gonna lose to the Chiefs. Hooray.
Fuck the Chiefs.
Exactly. Peace.